All right, Ava, what is the Italian breakfast?
Cappuccino e cornetto.
Cappuccino, everyone knows what a cappuccino is, and a cornetto, which is something that a lot of people looking at would probably think is a croissant.
No, cornetto isn't a croissant. Croissant is a French product. Cornetto is the Italian version of this French product.
Despite looking very similar, they're actually quite different, and we'll get into that later. Now, you may have heard us talk about Cornetti on the channel before, and I have to admit, it's usually us ragging on it a little bit. Usually it's us eating something and saying like, oh, this is a better breakfast than a Cornetto.
10,000 times better than cornetto e cappuccino.
The reason for that, though, is partly because a Cornetto is something where, well, let's say like a lot of people go into a bakery in Italy and maybe it's late in the morning or the afternoon or something and they see them in the window and they look really pretty and they get one. But a Cornetto is something that really needs to be eaten hot and fresh to understand how good it can be. However, if you live in the United States, where you can go into almost any shop and buy croissants, you pretty much cannot find Cornetti, let alone hot, fresh Cornetti. Your only real option is to make them at home.
Today I'm here to show you how to make cornetti. Now, here we need to say the truth, which is that making a cornetti, it means that it's a big project because it takes 2 days to make them. But the good part of this making the cornetti is that once you make them, you can make a little bit more, so you can freeze them and actually have them ready when you want to eat one of them.
Anytime you want, you just pull out from the freezer and bake a hot, fresh Cornetto. Yeah, as Ava said, it takes 2 days, which means that we need to go back in time to yesterday. I'm gonna do like a time travel effect, you know?
You looked very stupid.
I'm sure I look very stupid.
The difference between a French croissant and an Italian cornetto is the dough, because the Italian cornetto requires a brioche dough. To have a very good brioche dough, what you need is a very good flour. And what I mean with a very good flour in this case is a flour that has a very high protein content. We are talking about 14.5 or 15% of protein. I'm going to use the Manitoba flour that it shouldn't be so difficult to find in America, given the fact that Manitoba is made in Canada, but I don't know why. It's much more easier to find this in Italy than in America.
It's available online. We'll put a link down below. Need a mixer, right?
Yes, you need a mixer because the brioche requires a lot of work to do by hand. If you feel strong, if you feel capable, do by hands. Personally, I suggest a mixer. Sometimes we need the technology. We start with mixing flour, dried yeast, milk, an egg, a little bit of honey. Which kind of honey doesn't really matter. I'm going to use right now, I think, chestnuts honey, but if you don't have chestnuts, use I don't know what we call millefiori, use orange, use whatever you have. This ingredient is not mandatory, is optional, but what I discovered is that it will make our brioche dough much flavorful. This is the discard of the sourdough starter. How do you call it? We call it licol in Italy. I don't know how do you call it here in America.
Yeah, sourdough starter, sourdough yeast. Leave a comment down below if you want to see a video where Ava shows how she makes her sourdough. I've been begging her to do it, but it'll take a really long time and she's hesitant to do it. But if you leave enough comments, then she'll do it.
When the dough is formed but is a very rough, rough dough is the moment in which we can add the sugar and the salt. And we add them a little bit at a time, which means that we need to add it in 3 times. When all the sugar and all the salt is completely incorporated into the dough, is the moment in which we can add the last 2 ingredients, which means the seeds of vanilla beans and a little bit of butter, but it should be a very, very good butter. I know that there is a huge difference between American butter and European butter. Here we need a European butter because the European butter has a higher quantity of fat.
You got this at Whole Foods, right?
Yes. Keep in mind that to make croissant and to make cornetti, there is a butter for that. But that kind of butter is used by the professionists, by the professional bakeries, because it costs like $200, $300. So if you want to do them at home, use this kind of butter. Not this brand, but it should be a German butter. If you find yourself in a situation like that, where you can have a part of the dough attached to the hook but another part there, what you should do is help your KitchenAid.
Or other brand of stand mixer.
See, this is the case of like Philadelphia, where the brand became the product. And restart. Another thing that is very important when you make a cornetto is the temperature of the dough. Ideally, you should have your dough done with a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius. If it happens that your dough is not still ready, but the temperature is very close to 26, stop your mixer and let it cool down. Maybe you can also take it and put 5 minutes in the fridge. Find a way in which your dough will cool down a little bit. Our dough is ready, and it's ready when it's all one piece. It's not really important to develop the highest gluten, the best gluten possible. We are not making a panettone, we are making a cornetto. Place your dough on a surface
Surface?
Yes, like that. This is how do you call it?
This is like a, I don't know, metal dough board thing.
This is made for dough like the brioche, like the bread, like the pizza. Now, this kind of surface works much better than the wood. What we need to do is finish working our dough and now close it like this.
In case it isn't obvious on camera, when Ava's sliding that back towards her, it's actually sort of stretching the outside and closing it into a smooth ball.
We take our bowl back, place the dough here, cover with a plastic wrap, and let it rise room temperature for 1 hour. While the dough is resting, it's time to beat the butter. And I'm saying to beat the butter because actually we need to beat the butter.
Literally beat the butter?
See, it's very important that you start with a butter that it was for about an hour at room temperature. And we are going to divide our butter more or less in 4 pieces. And with a rolling pin, we start actually to beat it. The idea here is to give to our batter the shape that we need then for our brioche dough. So try to create a rectangular with your parchment paper. This is what we need. And now we place this piece of butter in the fridge until tomorrow morning. After an hour, our dough should look like that. That you can feel that it starts actually to rise, but it shouldn't really rise. What we need to do is, with a rolling pin, spread it. Into a sort of rectangular shape, and then we place our dough on a baking tray. We cover it with plastic paper and we place it overnight in the fridge together with the butter.
So we'll be back tomorrow morning.
Yes, we will see each other tomorrow morning.
Buongiorno.
Good morning, Harper. Good morning, everyone. What we need to do now is something that is in common with French croissant, which means that we need, in Italian we say sfogliare. We need to incorporate our butter that was in the fridge in the brioche dough. And now we need to shape it into a rectangular big enough to fit this. And now we need to close the butter here. Now what we need to do is starting to beat our dough. So the butter will spread, as you say, evenly. And now we need to keep rolling it. Is the moment in which we need to fold again our dough, which means we are going to fold in 3 parts. With a knife, we cut the part that is completely closed. We wrap in plastic paper and we put in the fridge for 45 minutes. And now we need to do like we did before. Keep actually cut here, or you can also leave as it is. I'm going to leave it as it is. And we transfer in the fridge for another 45 minutes. One last time we do the same thing that we did before, which means we beat it, then we roll it, we fold it, but this time we're going to keep it for 1 hour in the fridge. With the mattarello, we need to roll it. At this stage, I think that I need a bigger gun. This is enough big. This is what we are looking for. As you can see, is pretty thin. And this is the moment in which we can actually shape our cornetti. And because I'm not very good at
Shapes.
geometria, this is Harper's turn.
How many are you trying to make?
7, 8.
So if I do 4 on each side, 3 here. So they should be like big, long, I think they're, what are they, isosceles triangles?
Don't ask me, Harper.
These end ones are the funky ones. These are the ones you eat yourself and you give the others to the guests. Like that? How's that?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bravo! So to shape our cornetti, after you have this triangle, what you need to do is just stretch them a little bit, then cut here, because this will make all the process much more easy, and then you roll it. Giving a shape, more or less, and you place your cornetto there.
Now, once you have these shaped, you can freeze them, right?
Yes, at this stage, what you can do is put them in a freezer. When you want a cornetto, what you should do is take it out, let it be frozen, and then you let them rise, and then you bake them. Ideally, the cornetti, they should rise at a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius, that is more or less 73, 72, 73 Fahrenheit, for about 2 hours and a half, 3 hours. But every home is different. We will see in 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, how they look. Our cornetti are almost ready to be baked. And I can tell that they are almost ready because they are a little bit, how do you say, jiggling?
Jiggly?
Jiggling. But before we bake them, we need to prepare what you call in English an egg wash. And I'm going to do this egg wash with egg and a little bit of milk.
Is it finally time to bake them?
And now we bake them at 350 Fahrenheit for about 18 minutes.
It smells so good. It smells like when you walk past the bakery in Dessau early in the morning.
We have the bakery here.
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful smell. Took a long time, but you did it.
I know, it took 2 days, but at the end, they are here.
We're still missing one thing.
Yes, it's time for a cappuccino.
And here we have the most classic Italian breakfast you can possibly have.
A good cappuccino and a good cornetto.
Well, let's see if it's a good cornetto.
After 2 days.
We need to find out. Oh, it feels good. Oh, yeah. I think it's the first time I've cut a cornetto in half because I usually just eat the whole thing. That looks
It came out
and smells amazing.
So, before by itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the traditional way to eat it is to dip it in the cappuccino, but I gotta try your cornetto just by itself.
Buon appetito.
Oh.
Oh, it's a good cornetto.
I know everyone's gonna interpret this as me now ragging on croissants. No, but what I do love about this is that combination of the flaky layers that you get from the folding in the butter and all the things, but it's also a brioche dough. And if you ever had a brioche bun in Italy, like the kind that you dip into a granita, they are just so phenomenal. And this is like somewhere in between, and it's amazing. And now I need to dip it in the cappuccino.
Wow.
When it's hot and fresh, it's hard to beat.
We had our cornetto, what we say, semplice, which means without any stuffing inside. But actually, you can stuff a cornetto with cioccolato, marmellata, custard, ricotta, with whatever you actually want. We decide just to go straight to the simple one.
But if you have it just really hot and fresh, just the simple plain one, it's so good on its own.
Also because the cornetto is good when actually the cornetto is good. The stuffing inside doesn't add a lot if a cornetto is good.
And luckily we can keep them in our freezer. I can have a hot, fresh cornetto for breakfast whenever I want. Oh, it's a hard life. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed seeing how cornetti are made, and we really hope that some of you are brave enough to try it at home. I know it's a bit of a project. Speaking of which, another amazing project recipe is the spaghettio timballo, I call it.
Timballo di anelletti alla palermitana, timballo di anelletti alla siciliana.
This pasta grammarian took the time to make one for herself. It looks amazing. We hope that it was better than a can of SpaghettiOs.
I know for sure that it was. You Luis did a great job. Bravissima.
If you want to become a pasta grammarian, just hit that subscribe button. Follow us on social media at Pasta Grammar, and if you try any of our recipes, tag us there in a picture. All right, guys, we better go. I have some freshly baked cornetti in the back that I need to investigate. It's like 5:30 p.m. Dinner for breakfast.
There is nothing better sometimes.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.